at 6, new questions are being raised tonight about Governor Rick Snyder and his handling of the Flint water crisis.
Just how much are his professional spin doctors getting paid, and where's that money coming from? 7 investigator Jim Kirchner joins us with more on what he's found out about this. Jim?
Yeah, and if this sounds familiar with Governor Rick Snyder, it is. Remember that nerd fund that contradicted his pledge of transparency? My colleague, 7 investigator Ross Jones, was all over that.
Accountability and transparency.
Accountability and transparency.
Accountability and transparency.
In the governor's Nerd Fund, you won't find either. That's because the nonprofit, which stands for New Energy to Reinvent and Diversify, can take in and spend as much money as it wants, all in secret.
The stated purpose of the fund was to promote the common good and general welfare of the state of Michigan. But the use of the political dark money included paying for the penthouse suite here at the downtown Detroit Weston Book Cadillac Hotel for Kevin Orr, the governor's hand-picked emergency manager running Detroit at the time. But Orr said at the time he didn't know who paid what. It just wasn't him.
I don't know. I don't see bills, and I haven't seen a lease.
The Nerd Fund was paying a top aide to the governor, Rich Baird, again out of dark money, private, secret donations. Who paid your salary through the Nerd Fund, sir? Don't you think people have a right to know? Was Jones Day a contributor to the Nerd Fund?
He's not going to answer any questions.
Don't you think he should? Don't the people have a right to know?
No.
Why not?
He's in the middle of his testimony.
I'm not asking testimony questions. The governor would eventually change the Nerd Fund to the Moving Michigan Forward Fund. And online today it states this mission, taking action on Flint water, while the governor is still using the same sound good vocabulary.
Be open and honest.
The 3 quarterly reports online for last year show not a list of people, but donations coming from another nonprofit celebrating the power of Michigan. We couldn't get a hold of anybody there. We contacted Forward board members, and get this, we are told Secretary-Treasurer Annette Tenerelli-Lemke with Plant Moran auditors is resigning from the board, effective immediately. Coincidentally, the day we called.
It's not completely open, it's not completely honest. It is, quote-unquote, legal, but that doesn't build trust and transparency with the public.
Now, it turns out both of these new nonprofit funds lead to the governor's office, but the exact connection is not clear. We contacted the governor's office for comment. Get this, an executive assistant to the governor is also listed as a board member on the Forward Fund, but there was no comment about her, nor how much they're paying the PR firms in New York and Washington, D.C. The firms, Finn and Mercury, also not commenting.
On the plus side, I suppose it's good news. Taxpayers aren't paying these bills, but on the minus side, we don't know exactly where the money's coming from. That
and
transparency.
Who's donating the money, and what are they getting out of it?
But I thought initially when questions were brought up that he said he was going to close that Nerd Fund. No, not.
Well,
not
these
so.
are right back in the same arena.
Call it something different.
I'm sure you're going to stay on top of that one, Jim. All right, thank you much.
Thanks, Jim.